So that means form group requires to use array requires to use array for adding and removing the controls. So for adding and removing controls dynamically. So how we can configure that, how we can use that, let's see how we can manage that. Let's see just what we are doing. So I will create another component for your just understanding sake here. Ng generate component dynamic form and skip test equal to true. Okay, so let's make this dynamic form in the startup. So we need to add the controls dynamically. Okay, so let's make this dynamic form component in the startup. Okay. Dynamic form. This is dynamic form. Okay. So dynamic form is in the startup. Okay. Let's go to this dynamic form component. So we are into the dynamic form component. And in the dynamic form component TS, let's add the form here. Okay, let's add the TS. So here we need to inject a form builder. So that means so a private FB is a form builder. Okay, we are injecting a form builder into this. Okay. Now after injecting the form builder, so we are creating a form. So public and FRM registered. So is equal to this dot FB dot group. We are creating a group. Okay, that is the form group. Fine. In the form group, we are adding few controls initially. So name is one control. Okay. Another, so price is another. Okay. So yes. Another, we have FRM details. That is a nested one. And this dot FB dot group. We are creating another group here. And in this group, we have some city. Okay. And one more additionally we want here is after configuring this nested form, I will create new controls property. And this will be a form array. That means this dot FB dot array. It is a form array. And what this form array means you have to write in an array form. What this form array is expecting, a control inside it. We need to allocate memory for control inside array. So you know that. So you can, we learned in polymorphism, we can load memory of different types into the array. So in polymorphism, we learned about that. That means here we are using this dot FB dot, the memory for control. We are allocating memory for control. That means new controls is a property, which is an array type property. And into the array, it can have a collection of controls. Array is having a collection of controls. So you can currently one control is present. You can add more controls into it. That means new controls is an array, which is having a control. Now here one problem is there. What is the problem is, observe carefully in this approach. New controls is a property. this property is present inside this FRM register. So we cannot access it directly outside. If you cannot access it directly outside, how you will add members into it? How do we remove members into it? So that means a property is available, but that property is not global, so that I cannot add or remove that property. We cannot get or set values into property. Then already we learned about getter and setters. We use the getters and setters, accessors. By using accessors, we will make this global so that we can add and remove directly into it. Otherwise, I need to every time use this form in the form, nested forms, in the nested forms, this property. We want one property to be accessed directly. Then what we will do is we will create a get. We will create a getter for the new controls. For the new controls, I am creating a getter. So, and this new controls should refer to this new controls. Then what it has to return? This has to return, get has to return this dot FRM register dot get. Which property to get? We have to define the property to get. So it has to get the property called new controls. New controls as it is of type form array, as form array. We have to configure as form array. When you are accessing any property, you need to tell what type of property it is. That means this is a property which you are accessing as it is a form array. It is a form array. New controls is a form array. We need to access that. Why you are creating an accessor for it? So to return that control, because to return that property, we are creating accessor because now we can directly access this property by using this accessor. Otherwise, I need to use this lengthy hierarchy every time. You can directly use that hierarchy every time, no problem, but that is very risky. So that's the reason we will create an accessor. Through the accessor, we are returning it. And similarly, so here that is enough. Once you get the accessor, it is an array. It will allow you to push the values into it. Okay. So now new controls is an accessor for this new controls, which is an array type, which will allow you to push values into it. Okay. Then how we can add values or remove values? So I will technically create two methods. I will technically create two methods. One is add photo. Add photo is a method. What is this add photo method have to do? It has to push a new control. Then this dot new controls. You can access new controls directly now because you have created an accessor for it. This dot new controls, it is an array type. If it is an array type, you know that you can use push. You can use push, right? And push, which one you have to push? I need to push a control type. This dot fb dot, this dot form builder dot control. So we need to push the control. We need to push the control. So a new control is pushed into it. Whenever add photo function is called, a new control is added into it, into that array. Okay. Similarly, so remove photo. Whenever remove photo is called, I need to this dot new controls dot remove at. Remove at will remove based on index number. So remove at I will pass the index number. It should remove that index number. It should remove that index number. So that means, so we created a form. This form contains a new controls form array. The intention of creating an array to add or remove controls dynamically. And we cannot access that property directly. So we created an accessor. Through the accessor, we are accessing that property. Into that, we are pushing and removing the elements. That's fine. That's very simple logic here. Now, how you will bind this and how you can implement this. Let's see. Now, everything is logically ready. So then how we can access and use this? And very important, observe, new controls is an array. And that means we need to loop through this new control array and present those controls. Okay.